Anyhow, which is Stephanie. This is so funny. I'm in our drying area in our apartment in Shanghai, and I just love this curtain behind us. It looks like a studio in here, doesn't it? La! Anyway, laundry drying area, not dish drying area for food. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is, I am gearing up to take my first ever language test. There is a bit of a glare though, right? Okay, ooh, sunshine on a sunny day. Okay, we'll just try that. I'll have the heavenly glare here and just consider it my presence causing this to happen. Right, so I'm taking my first ever language test in about a month, March 24th. And the irony of this is not lost on me, folks. I do language testing for a living right now, and that's all I can tell you. But I do language testing in English. That is my job. That is my livelihood right now. So having never taken anything other than a school's language placement test, I find it highly ironic. Not so much so because I taught for a number of years, and I'm highly skilled in language dissection, analysis, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, that's not the point. I'm not here to justify my job. I just think it's an interesting thing that I'm taking my first ever full-on legitimate language test as a language tester. So, and I'm finding there are things that I really, really hate about the process of studying for the test. I appreciate the vocabulary, which is why I'm doing the HSK route right now, and until it is not practical for me. But there are things about studying for a language test that I hate. Here are my top 5. Number 1, I hate that there are so many different vocabulary lists. So we'll just put this under the umbrella of the content that people say can help you study for the test doesn't jive with each other. Apparently, the test is updated, as language tests are. Trying to move you away from the glare because the sun keeps moving. Okay, so different people publish their information at different times. A lot of people don't realize that they really need to add the date or the version that they're publishing. And so the vocabulary list that I'm using is from Sensible Chinese, which is Kyle's website, and I loved his course. I downloaded the list because they were in a frequency order that I really appreciated that I don't remember right now, but I'm noticing that from that to my Pleco HSK words to, which I think I imported at some point, to other lists that I'm seeing online, to the HSK book I bought in China, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's from a reputable source, but I want to believe that it's more reputable than someplace that is far away. I don't know, that's just a leap. But the content that is out there about the test, not from the people that make the test, but just in general, not agreeing with each other drives me a little bit crazy. Okay, I understand that a language test is more than just a list of words. However, since it's the first level of a test, well, that's just number 1. That's not any other hand gesture, but I did it so aggressively it looked like it. It frustrates me to no end that that exists. Number 2, people focusing on the vocabulary so much that there's less resources for listening and reading, and I don't think there's really a writing component for HSK1. The listening component from the first few listenings that I tried in my practice book were super hard. And yes, I'm the one that said I wasn't, like months and months ago, I wasn't really going to do the HSK route. I didn't realize how frequent the words in the lists were and how they built on each other. Now that I know that, I'm going to go that route until it's not useful for me. So I have not intentionally been focusing on listening. However, I have been doing smaller bits of listening, like words and some sentences, but not necessarily entire conversations, especially functional conversations. Like everyday life kind of conversations. So I find the listening, bringing in the listening a month, but let's say 5 weeks before the test, a bit frustrating because I feel like I should have been doing this the whole time I was doing the vocabulary. That is my fault, but it's also not stressed in the materials that are out there. So I'm going to put blame on me and on the people producing resources for the test itself. I may be totally wrong on this. I've just started to research the test itself, but I have seen many, many materials over the past a gazillion months, and I don't remember seeing a ton on the listening component for HSK 1. Again, I'm just specifically focusing on the first one because that's the one I'm studying for. Number 3, I hate tests. I still don't fully believe that you can judge somebody's language from a test, especially a test that does not have a human component. And you know what number 3 is? There's no human component to this language test. As far as I understand, it's a computerized test. It's a computerized test. There's no conversation, and there's no interaction, and it doesn't have to be spoken interaction, depending on your goal. Mine's reading. For that, it could be a question and answer via text, like a conversation via text message, via email, or some sort of back and forth thing, I suppose. I don't know. On some level, there's an annoyance that there isn't a person involved or a communication between people or some sort of back and forth human interaction in this particular test. I don't know if that changes as the levels go higher. I imagine part of the reason is that the level's so low and you can't really communicate very much by HSK level 1. But my gripe still exists. Number 4. There's Pinyin. There's Pinyin on the HSK 1 test. Pinyin is the Romanized version of the Chinese characters, the Hanzi characters. There's Pinyin on the test. From what I can see, they have the Pinyin and Hanzi character next to each other. I hate that. I hate that crutch. I've been trying to read the characters. I use the Pinyin on the back of my flashcards, and I'll look at it if I have to remember how to say it or what tone it is. But generally speaking, I'm trying to read the Chinese language in its Hanzi character form. The fact that that's on the test annoys me. You shouldn't start people off with the training wheels. They should use the training wheels while they're studying and then throw it away by the time they get to the test. Judgy? Yes. But if you're going to use the language to use the language, learn the language, test the language. I hate that the Pinyin is there. That's almost like putting, I don't know, I don't even know the equivalent in English. I'm annoyed that it's there. I think it's on HSK level 2 also, which there's only 6 levels, folks. Why the heck do you have that kind of crutch on HSK level 2 test? I don't know, but it bugs me. Number 5, I hate tests. Can I say that again? I hate that the more I study and the more I tell people I'm doing the test, the more people tell me how useless the test is. It probably is, but it's motivating me to study vocabulary that looks like it's incredibly useful for my end goal. So that's my end goal. But I sort of like language learning. I do an analogy with language learning and pregnancy, even though I've never been and will never be pregnant. I've heard that once you're pregnant and people start to see that you're showing, that they start to share all kinds of stories with you about their experience being pregnant, and that they encroach physically on your body because they feel like it's a community experience, right? So with language learning, and I've mentioned this with the flashcards in public kind of thing, there's a lot of conversation that happens when you talk about language learning, and when you talk about taking a specific thing like the HSK test, people start to talk about taking the test around you. I'm with you, and with you. It's not a bad thing. I'm learning some information about the logistics of the test that I couldn't necessarily find on any of the online resources. And sorry, I just got a notification on my phone. Go away. Okay, so yeah, but some of the things people say are a little discouraging, and some of them are encouraging, and the vast majority of them are like, it's something you just have to go through to get to the next level, to get to the point that you want to. But it is that kind of, let me share with you good and bad without really filtering out or wanting to help you stay motivated, because this is a long haul. This is a hard experience. Learning Mandarin, simplified Mandarin Chinese. Don't let the simplified fool you. This is freaking hard. So it's really funny, the stories that people share. And that's one of the reasons I don't carry the book around with me, because they share it way too quickly, and I don't want any more conversations about that. I'd rather talk about a million other things. Right now, learning the language is a very solitary experience, and I want to keep it that way until I can use the language. I don't want to, it's funny because I know I make these videos and I talk about learning the language, but I want to talk about learning the language with people who are enthusiastic about learning the language, and not necessarily people who are doing it for any other reason. And I find that a lot of people that talk about learning the language, especially preparing for HSK tests for whatever job or legitimate reason that they have, tend to focus on the negative aspects of the test. And there are plenty, and I'm listing a lot of them in a negative way in this video, so I am the massive hypocrite. But I just, for some reason, want to avoid those conversations because they've been awkward. So I do my flashcards in private as much as possible, and I study with my HSK practice book in private as much as possible, because it's just awkward to have these conversations. I don't fully know why. If you've had this and you understand what I'm talking about, can you explain it better than I can? Because I can't really fully explain it yet. And I've only been studying for the test for a few weeks, but I've brought my book out enough times to have these conversations and to realize that I just don't need to do that. So there you have it. Those are the top 5 things I hate about studying for the HSK test. The good thing is I had, because I'm going to throw in one really good thing, I had an interesting super micro conversation with a local yesterday. It's not even a conversation. It was just a moment where flashcards flew into my head. I was in a room in public, and there was a door open and there was cold air coming in. And I was like, meh, I'm not asking, I'm just going to close that door because it's way too cold in here. So I ran over past the staff person that was right near the door, because she's used to this and she's all bundled up, and she had this really cute monkey hot water bottle and all kinds of stuff, and she was ready to be cold all day and I wasn't. So I closed the door and I turned around, I looked at her, and I realized, oh, I probably shouldn't have done that in front of her. So I'm going to ask for forgiveness afterwards, after I'm warm. And I said, I'm going to forget the word now. Lung, L-E-N-G with the third tone. Lung, which is cold, which is a word that I have seen in my flashcards over the past few weeks for HSK1. But I've never heard it in the wild, and I've never used it, but I was so cold that the flashcard and the image flew into my head, and I said, lung. And I said, wait, I can make that stronger. And I remembered hun, very, right? Can't say that right yet, but I said, hun lung, and she laughed and she repeated it back. And laughed and then went like this, like, yeah, it's very cold. Boom! This is the good thing about learning HSK1, is these random bits of vocab are actually coming into my life. And I know that my goal is not to communicate with people, although, gosh, it is, but not in the traditional way. But little moments like that are kind of fun because, you know, the language comes into life. I do want to communicate with people via the written form because that's just way more of what I want to do in the subjects that I want to read and probably write-ish about, or at least communicate about in the written form. But anyway, that was a verbal example of just random moments of good things that come out of the boring process of learning vocabulary, which is necessary in any language, just super hard in this one because it's so different from the written-wise and sound-wise from the language that I come from, which is English. All right, hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share, subscribe. I keep forgetting to do these things, but it's there. It's always there. Please share this information with others. Thank you. Oh, now I'm getting a phone call. Okay, bye-bye.